out of the gate, we have some very interesting price action on the day. We had a really steep decline towards the downside. We hit most of our targets and we started to bounce at demand. But what came next was pretty surprising. Fed Bostic came out and he had a pretty interesting tone. Bostic, quarter point US rate hike increases, best to limit risk to economy. Now, of course, the headlines are going to give you probably the juiciest statement, kind of like some of the thumbnails I do, right? It's marketing. But if we get back down in here, really what he was talking about is I'm still very much in the mindset of that a slow and steady is going to be the best or appropriate course of action, right? Now, does this mean that he wants to pause rates? No. And most analysts are saying that we're not going to pause most likely until quarter number 3, possibly even quarter number 4. We have seen over the past few days that the Fed fund futures are pricing in 5.5 to 5.75. So basically they're assuming we're going to continue raising rates at least 3 to 4 more times in the next future. And that's just at the baseline of 0.25. That's not if we start to go a little bit higher and a little bit more aggressive once again. But what did we say previously here on the channel? We don't really anticipate them to switch the rate in which they're doing futures or in the rate of the raising rates. We don't think they're going to change the speed in which they're doing it. Right now, we've talked about consumer confidence and what they're doing there. So switching the tone, switching the inflation target too soon, I think will make the Fed look worse than better. Now, I don't want to go too heavy into this. I might lose you in all the hoopla, but let's talk about price action. Now, first of all, what happened with NQ? Where are we at here? Bringing up the 200 daily moving average as we come in here. Let's go to the 2-hour chart. You know, it's my favorite chart of all. And as you can see, here at the end of the day, let's talk about a few things. Your supply was up here. Demand was, and this was not demand, this was a support. I posted this on Twitter, so you had it. Key level 1175, and then you also had your next demand way down there. But what happened? Very interesting behavior. You break down, you get below the 200 SMA, you reject, and then obviously Bostic says this, and you push up. Now, food for thought where we're at here. You know, we jump in here, and we're looking at this, just saying though, you know, I find it peculiar, to say the least. Maybe coincidental is the word. I don't know. Again, you know, don't attack me. But what's happening here? What continues to happen? Lower highs, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. And as of this moment, a lower high. I'm not going to say that this has to stay here. We do have more Fed speakers, I believe, happening here in the after hours. Just saying, though. What about, you know, the bottom? Lower low, and then today, a new lower low. So if we look fundamentally just at the price action, this is a fundamental viewpoint of looking at this. If you're making lower highs and you're making lower lows, you are in a downtrend, right? Now, if we look at this from the 2-hour, this goes all the way back to essentially February 15th. I mean, actually, if you look at lower highs, it goes all the way back to February 2nd. That's beyond me. So that's just, I want you to understand that. Now, what I will say is where you need to get the nail in the coffin, right? The absolute backbreaker is really holding below 200 SMA. And if we get back down there quick tonight, I think it's just confirmation. Now, stock-wise, you're going to want to stay tuned. I have a lot of plays I like, and I think we have a lot of opportunities right now. So when we look at this, again, this is going to be pretty influential. Looking at the calendar tomorrow, you know, we do have a little bit going on. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you. So we go into tomorrow, nothing at open as you come in, services PMI, non-manufacturing PMI, and a little bit more Fed Logan. You had Fed member Bostic speaking once again. Bostic, please just keep your mouth closed, okay, please. And then you have Fed Bowman also coming out here. Now, I will say Bostic is not a voting member, okay? So really his opinion is, I'm not gonna say irrelevant, but it's irrelevant. Going a little bit deeper. What else was happening today? Now, we're going to go over some stocks here now. AMD, we saw some interesting behavior here. Now, if we talk about the plays that we liked, okay, really quick, some of the plays that we loved, the plays that we liked, what did we mention? Amazon, Tesla, NVIDIA. Boom, boom, kaboom. So let's look at one. We're gonna go with NVIDIA first. This is probably the most concerning, if any, on these. Now, where we started shorting obviously was around 230. I averaged more in as we went higher to 138, and we did not make a new high here. Now, what was happening today? We were holding below that massive key level we mentioned and have been talking about for the past 4 or 5 days. 227.8, 227.6. You were holding below, lots of wicks here in the 2-hour and the 1-hour. Beautiful. And then you pushed up right here, basically up to 233. Interesting. What happened from there? So AMD got a big name, right? A big investor, a hedge fund come in and they size into a position here. Now, again, I want it to be very clear. Generally, when you're looking at the market for aiming for downside, I think you got to have a lot more confidence than betting on the upside. Because if you're betting on the upside, you're generally just betting in the overall direction that 9 out of 10 times the market over time will continue to go up. Especially if you have dated positions. I think shorter dated positions, obviously, a little bit, you need to time it better, obviously. But when we look at this and we're swinging, I'm swinging. AMD came out and announced this. Now, if you really read the report right here, AMD turns positive on the report. Activist investor Don, whatever your name is, owns a passive stake. Okay, did he buy it today? No, he just owns this. He had gotten to this position. Could have been a few weeks ago. Want to acknowledge that. And you start to push up. Okay, with Nvidia, what is happening? I personally believe this is still a short play opportunity. The volume on Nvidia, the volume on AMD, in my opinion, were not amazing. If I have stops, I'm placing them above local highs. That's where I just have to have them. Time on my position is my best friend. I still love Nvidia. Contracts still look really good. They had a little bit of a decline on this push up. Obviously, I think they went from $6 to like $4.90, but I still love them. I'm still a huge fan of them. Still one of my favorite plays. Love Nvidia. Love it here. Going into Tesla again. You guys love Tesla, and I adore Tesla right now. It's probably my favorite looking downtrend that's forming out here. Now, I posted this on Twitter, so if you want, you can go see this on my page. The link is down below. And as we look at this, actually, pause, timeout. Technical foul by Tyler. I have to ask you to consider doing two things before we go any further. Consider liking, consider subscribing. Every single day I pump these videos out for you, so you are prepared. They're unbiased. I tell you if I win, I tell you if I lose. I give you all the information. We've been on a pretty decent streak lately, so not too many losers. Also, the newsletter, the link is down below. Every Sunday we drop this for you, so you get all the information inside, right? I'm not advertising anything. However, going forward, since Discord has officially reached capacity, when we release new spots, they will first be released on the newsletter. So make sure you're subscribed if you're interested, right? And then you can unsubscribe if you want. If you want to join, that's what you're looking for. So newsletter members obviously will get access first. And again, what's the primary focus? It's to really help you guys stay prepared. We're giving you the earnings, giving you the calendar. We're giving you the hottest plays, key levels, everything in between. And if you look here, just want to tell you right now, as you zoom in, where did you bounce here on Tesla today? Just food for thought, 187.23. We go into Tesla, look at where you started bouncing, right? Really look as you come in here to where you started to find that support and a little bit of resistance as well. Right near that 187 region, as we mentioned in the newsletter. You need to understand that it's all in there. You can look at the after hours as well. Take that for a grain of salt. Anyways, as we get back into this, let's talk. So when we look at Tesla, I still believe you're very weak. I also want to highlight, even with the bounce that we had on the Nasdaq, consider this. I'm just saying, you have a 200-point bounce on the Nasdaq, and Tesla goes from 189 to 190.8. A dollar move to the upside. Very weak in my opinion. Now, I see the gap. I understand. I know everyone's like, Tyler, the gap. We all love gaps, right? Now, overall, I still think the market has a lot of concerns for myself, but I'm going to tell you right now, you're just kind of finding support down here once again, right? You're finding support, and I believe you had all the weakness in the world to drop. It's just indexes got that love. They got that bounce from that level. So that's what I'm watching for there. I still love Tesla to the downside. 180, and then I think you have room to slip down. I'm extremely bearish. Investor Day seemed like a massive flop in the short term, and it seemed like a lot of spinning that they need to do. Personal opinion there. Amazon. Now, Amazon, I cut about 90% of my position, right? I cut about 75%. I posted in Discord, and then I started trimming more because I want to mitigate my risk here. So what happened here? You got really close, right? If you were in the live stream, we're live here every day, 10:30 a.m. Central. We came very close to the daily gap down here. Very close. I started getting out when we started bouncing around 90.8. personally. I was up about 25%, and then my Nvidia position also was, getting back a little bit in the red. So what I did is I mitigated because my Amazon position was much bigger than everything else. Amazon and Tesla were close to the same size, but Tesla's just sitting like break even right now. So what I did is I cut my Amazon, took the 25%, Tesla's at break even, and that 25% basically covers any losses that I have on Nvidia right now. Amazon's also a slower mover, and I got very close to my target, so I just took profits. I think highs in the contracts were 7.5. I got out around 7.3, around 7.35. Still extremely happy with that position. I still think Amazon has weakness, but Costco has earnings tonight, and I definitely think Costco could heavily affect Amazon depending on how they report. Keep that in the back of your mind. Now, really quick, I want to go over indexes a little bit more in depth so you can have a visual of what we're looking at here. Now, supply to the upside, if you start to break above, it's still here around 12.2 roughly, right? That's where you get into supply up to around 12.27. Big resistance. You're still making lower highs. I'm looking for us to break and hold back below, 11.94, roughly where the 200 SMA is. You can also see here on ES, as we come into this, look where you hit right down there to supply. Again, we posted this. Everyone knows that it's in yesterday's video, right? You came right below the 200 SMA, got into supply and bounced. But what are you still doing? You're clearly still making lower highs, still in the downtrend, still pushing down, still very weak. So you have to be watching this and be prepared to see how we react from this. You still have supply right above you, even if you break above this. So these are all the things that I'm worried about and why I still think there's downside ultimately. Looking at SPY, what's happening here? SPY was more interesting. So when we look at indexes, Qs broke below the 200 SMA, but SPY was just kind of chilling at it. It never broke below. So we saw ES break below, which is S&P futures, which I believe futures are more important. We saw Qs, we saw Nasdaq, everything broke below, but SPY was kind of bouncing there. So it's really interesting, and I want to see SPY make a low below the 200 SMA. I still think you have a supply down here as well, down at 390, locally around 387, or demand, if you will, but that's where I'm watching us to go. I still see downside. I still see a lot of weakness. These are just my personal favorite plays right now. That's what I have to be watching, and this is where the bulk of my focus is going to remain. Now, looking at indexes, bulk of our money today, where did it come in at? You're still seeing a lot of these SPX contracts, okay? That's your biggest positions on the day. Downside heavy. We look at the names here, okay? What about NVIDIA? What about AMD? We saw that buying happen. Well, maybe people started FOMOing in. Maybe buyers started stepping in. What happened there? Very minuscule, right? We've seen bearish change. Amazon over the past few days, very bearish. NVIDIA, not a lot of love. Not really that many buyers coming in. AMD, your biggest orders are still on the downside despite that news. Understand what's happening here. Going into SPY. You had some dated positions. These are for 2024. I'm not too worried about longer dated positions in the short term. We look at 2023, heavily towards the downside still. Just saying. Although these orders still aren't that big. We saw a lot of the volume coming in yesterday and the day before. Going into Qs, what's happening there? Again, biggest contract, and this is for 2 weeks out, March 17th. Put heavy. Again, you're still seeing the overall trend side to the downside here, in my opinion. VIX, although I'm not really that concerned, call side heavy. And then obviously SPX, a lot on the downside still here. Now, one more thing I do want to take a look at is going to be Yahoo Finance to point you in a direction with the volume. And as we look at the volume, despite the strong bounce that we had today, look at your pathetic volume. Like, really try to understand that. 80 million on the day. You're probably going to end the day around 85 million if I had to guess. Breakout volume towards the downside, very heavy. The best volume that we've had in weeks, I would argue, has been towards the downside since that 400 breakdown there. 96, 108, 80, 96, 99. Guess what? Boom. This is kind of comedy if you look at it. Low volume. If we look back at the 80 million day, look where you closed. You drop down, you bounce back up. You could argue this was a little bit of a consolidation day there as well. My personal opinion, and I still think sellers have the strength at this time. We go and look at Bookmap and what's happening here. Today, we definitely saw the book get a little bit more clear. I will say that. We've seen a little bit less fight. A few things, though, I do want to say. A few things. I think some people have been very aggressive with shorts, and that's why we're saying this. This is your stops hunter right here. And basically, when you wake up, it's showing you people are getting stopped out of positions, and that's what's happening, right? But the keynote here is your ICs right here. And I know some people are going to love when I talk about the ICs. Some of your dark pool data, right? The blue down here. We didn't see a lot of buying today. Very interesting, in my opinion, that despite one of our best responses that we've had in a while on ES and on the Nasdaq, not a lot of buying stepping in here. right? Can't shorting on Nasdaq if we look there, but there's not that much buying, short heavy really on the Nasdaq. So that's what I'm viewing here is, yeah, CVD is up, but ultimately we're not seeing, you know, a lot of big buyers. And look what happened to the actual volume. What happens in here, right? You see a lot of, you know, positions kind of normal. This is what happens, almost like a Bollinger Band surrounding it with buyers on one side, sellers on the other, right? Trying to hold you right there. But then what happens? It kind of just takes off and it goes completely just kind of AWOL here. We saw volume die down, which is in tangent with what's represented right here. Bookmap link is down below if you want to check them out. So that's my opinion there. I'm still not a believer in the upside push. Call me crazy. I've taken some profits so far on Amazon. I'm sitting good there. I'm happy with that position. But as of now, I'm just kind of just slowly watching what's happened. I haven't started to enter that many more puts. I haven't reestablished any positions. I'm very interested in Tesla, very interested in Nvidia and where those are going to go. But ultimately, what I'm watching right now is the reaction that we're getting from the Nasdaq. How we're moving and how we're reacting with the Nasdaq trying to bounce, which the bounce has been lackluster in comparison to ES and SPY, but you're not getting that much love. I mean, on the after hours, you are up at like 70 cents so far here on Tesla. On Nvidia, you're up around 10 cents. But again, I still love these positions. That's my target range. This is what I'm looking for. If you have questions, please comment down below. That's going to wrap it up. Again, I will see you tomorrow. Shorter video. Have a good one, traders.